Hello everybody and welcome to the Homestead's Facebook page and YouTube channel. Today I wanted to share with you installment 3 of how we're making maple syrup. So in the first two videos, the first one I made last fall, and it was a basic guide where I took you back in the bush and recommended marking your maple trees, measuring them, seeing how many taps the tree could handle, and then marking it so that you could identify it in the spring when there was no leaves on it. And then in installment 2, I showed installing the taps and our collection methods that we use, the Culligan bottles. And this step 3 is basically just boiling it down and finishing the product. So you can see here that I'm using propane. I tried two different methods over here in the driveway when the snow was to the small makeshift fire pit here. I spent 8 hours outside one day and I fed a fire all day and boiled down about 40 liters of sap and got about a liter of syrup. That was very labor intensive, and I burn wood in my home for heat. So to me it just kind of seemed like a waste of resources, as I could have used that wood to heat my house. This method I found much easier. It requires much less attention, and it's fairly cheap if you already have the propane tanks. I fill up my propane tanks at Costco, so it's about $8 or something like that to fill them up, and one propane tank will boil down 3 of the large water bottles I used, each containing about 20 liters. So a propane tank running all day at a low to medium setting will boil off about 60 liters of sap and turn it into about 1.5 liters of syrup. So that's basically the setup I have going on here. You can see the stand. I'm just about out of propane. You can see in the center of the screen there that the fire has gone from a blue to a yellow, indicating that I'm running on fumes basically, but it's good timing. So this was 60 liters and it's boiled down to maybe 3 or 4 liters now. So we're going to take it inside and finish it off. One tip I will provide you with now before we go ahead is you can see the thermometer there. You do not want the temperature of the sap to rise above 107 degrees Celsius. Otherwise it will start to burn and it won't taste good. Anyways, I'm going to pause the video here and we'll meet you inside. Okay, so here we are in the back of the house. I have taken this deep frying pan and used this filter here as a quick sift to ensure that I got any large particles out of it, which I haven't had to deal with many particles using the Culligan bottle method. There hasn't been, and not burning wood to boil it down, there haven't been any wood chips or a lot of impurities that I've had to deal with. So basically you want to keep it at a low simmer from this point on and just have the rest of the water evaporate out. There was a little more left in here than I thought there was, but I thought I'd show you in here so you can definitely see the color. If it'll focus in, you can see the color is very brown. When you collect your sap, it's almost transparent. It might have a very light hue to it, a tint to it, but you can't really tell because of the Teflon lining in here. And normally the last batch I used a stainless steel pot to finish it off in, and I wouldn't normally use something with a Teflon lining, but you know, we made some stew tonight and that pot is half full right now, so couldn't use that. But I thought that I would show you some of the first batch. So the one on the right is the very first batch that I made, and you can see that that is a lighter color than this one. Maybe you can't really tell with the camera. Looking through the camera you can't really see that, but the first batch was pretty light and the second batch was very dark. There's a lot of sediment in the bottom of the second batch. There's a couple more jars that I filtered with a different method. I used the same basic strainer, but then I lined it with coffee pots, or coffee filters, and it was very slow, but it created a very, very clear syrup. So you can see there's quite a bit in there, and I'm going to have to filter it off before we use it, but it's sealed now, so I'm not going to bother doing that right now. And yeah, so the first section, the first batch I did, I used propane, and there's very little sediment in the bottom, just some white sugar. This one I used wood, and it's boiled for hours and hours and hours, so I know that it's sterilized. There's not going to be any bacterial growth in there or anything that's going to harm us, but it will affect the taste of the syrup, leaving sediment in there and having particles in there. So some advice, definitely filter it. This third batch, like I've shown you, has been done with the propane method, and it's basically been sealed the whole time, so there's next to nothing in there. And pouring it through that small filter, that screen, ensured that there was no large particles at all. But basically, yeah, that's it. So you just want it on a low simmer. Keep it around 100 or 102. You definitely don't want to go over 107. And with how full this is, I just want it to kind of steam off like it is. And that may take a little longer, but it's no big deal. And this will be ready probably with what's left in the pot. Maybe I have 2 hours left here before this is a finished product. Take your jars, your mason jars, or whatever you're going to put it in, and make sure that you put it in boiling water for a few minutes, the lid and the jar itself, and that will sterilize it. And ensure that the jar is hot, very hot. Run under some hot water before you pour the syrup in there, just so that it doesn't crack and break on you, and all your hard work is gone to waste. But anyways, yep, that's it. So that's the last video that I'm going to do on the maple syrup. I hope it was informative, and that it proved to your average person that you can do this if it's something you're interested in. As always, folks, I appreciate the likes and shares and subscriptions. So, excuse me, thanks a lot for that, and have yourselves a great day.